Alright, so back to this, yet again another black screen video. This time, obviously not Nagatoro-san, because that one I just finished, and I will watch those 3 episodes season 2 eventually, but I won't make an R1 until that's over. But beyond that, right, as for this one, the bigger thing there, right, is this is based off of, what would you call it, you can tell by the title, right, which, funny enough, I talked about this a lot in the Nagatoro-san video, because these two are oddly, or at least the 2 shows are oddly similar, but, for what I watched for this one, the movie, right, still very much related to the show itself, right, as opposed to, like, and compared to, let's say, funny enough, I also talked about a lot about this show in the previous one for, the Nagatoro-san one, Violet Evergarden, right? They released the Recollections film, which is just like an hour 30-minute movie, but it's literally just that. It's just recalling things that have happened, in Violet Evergarden. So not going to make a video on that, but as a paired post this, which is actually, the movie of Takagi-San, which is its own thing, is actually, substantive there. And that's, what I wanted to talk about here, right, in terms of that. So again, the movie, right, and again, just full disclaimer, right, this is just a bit odd, in terms of, like, the order in what I did for, like, watching Takagi-San. So here's the thing. I watched the season of it on Netflix, thinking it was the only one out, or the only one in existence. However, there are 3 seasons, and the one I ended up watching was the second one. And the third one right now I don't think is out for, like, international. It's like being broadcast in Japan, but at some point, if I can watch it, I will. But the big thing being Crunchyroll has the first season. So at some point, what I'll do is I'll go back, watch the first season, right, and then rewatch the second season just immediately following. Watch them in one complete thing. And this is because I watched season 2, like over 6 months ago. It was one of the last ones I watched during, like, the 6 weeks break that I had during that, summer, right? But the big thing being I watched it there. So I'm willing to go through and watch again, especially with how much I enjoyed it, right? And then now that's coming off season 1. And since I just watched the movie, which is what this is about, it's just perfect, right? But as for this video, as for the movie, right? I also, another full disclaimer, so I watched the movie on YouTube, right? I didn't watch it through any official medium, and the subtitle is absolute trash. Like, the subbing was, like, terrible, for the show, so it kind of degraded the experience, but I could fill in the gaps. So, but basically, here's the thing, and I can give it a quick synopsis and just, so if you know what Takagi-San is, right, these 2, like, I don't even know what the dude's name is, right, shit, I just know the girl's name is Takagi-San, right, his name is Nishikata, I remember that, his name is Nishikata, there's 2, like, middle school children, right, Takagi-San, teases him, right, and then, like, he, like, tries to get back, right, like, I just remember he does, like, push-ups for every time, so he's like, shit, by the end of it, he should be, like, jacked, but again, it's like, that's the basic premise. In the big thing that I talked about, in which is now what I'm realizing in season 2, is how it goes from a seamless transition, is why I titled it, from basically them just teasing and fooling around, goofing off, to actually, developing somewhat of a relationship, right, and feeling and really caring for each other, right, in the finale there, which was the festival, right. Again, it's going to be interesting going back and re-watching season 1 before that. I assume it'll be on kind of how they met, and then how they developed, their whole teasing thing there, right? That kind of, what would you call it? What's the term? That kind of, like, dichotomy or whatever there, But, and then go rewatch season 2 and see how it fits in. But the big thing for the movie being, and this is for the movie, is basically the movie. Again, I don't know where it falls in with season 3, because I haven't watched season 3. Once I'm able to, I will. I think it's still only, Japan, right? But it's like, the big thing for the movie is that it takes place at the end of their middle school, right? Yeah, it takes place at the end. In fact, it actually takes place after they've already graduated, right? It takes place after they graduate. It's like that summer before they all went to high school. So yeah, and so, like, season 2 is just, like, during the school year, right? I assume season 1 was probably the year before, but then this is, like, after, they already, I'm pretty sure it's after they graduate. I might be wrong, but, it may be it's either their last, semester or year, like at the end of that or during that summer, right? But the big thing is, and one of the themes is, and this is why, it kind of got to me, is that it's like one of the big themes was, and what a lot of the characters were talking about. I was like, oh, what's going to happen next, when you go to high school, right? Or like, when, we change schools, things won't be the same, right? Are we still going to like see each other? That kind of thing. And it's like, damn, dude, like I freaking remember that, right? Back when I was in like middle school. Like I remember my 8th grade birthday party, right? That was a big thing because I have birthday's what, May 23rd, so it's like right at the end. Like that was a big thing. I remembered my 8th grade birthday party. We had a freaking school assembly that day, and it was like a gymnastics team or whatever. So they were doing like flips and shit. And then I had my birthday with all my friends over, right? And then we did like a sleepover. That was like I remember that, pretty vividly, right? It was very enjoyable. No, I very much enjoyed that, but it was like, again, and this is me post college now, remembering back to then, and it's like, high school obviously was different, right? Because then that's one of the big things they even note there, is that like, oh, even though it just won't be the same, right? Even if we're all still together, which was another big thing. It's like, okay, what's gonna happen, right? But like that's some like real shit, right? Like a real talk. That's like real shit, right? And it's like, this is coming from someone who's now graduated college, right? So it's like I'm like 2 levels removed from that. It's not going to high school or going to college. It's freaking, or like what I do after college. It's freaking, I'm already done. So I'm literally looking at my diploma right now. I got it up on the not on the wall, but on like a shelf. But this besides the point. The big thing there is that's like that was a big thing, and it was something that really resonated with me watching it. And that's just kind of the main overall theme or central idea, right? Getting more into what specifically happens, because I do think it is during the summer. It's a bit odd because it's like I think it like cuts a bit. Like it starts, at the end of I think that year, and then it gets into the summer, but then it like goes back and forth. I don't know. It might be because the subbing was trash, but a big thing there, and this is the big plot, obviously, between Nishikata and Takagi, right? Is that basically during the summer, what they end up doing is they end up taking care of this cat, right? This stray cat that they found, because a big thing there was they obviously had the same class together, so that's why they'd spend all that time and they'd walk home together, right? But the kind of toss up in question in the summer was, oh, what's going to happen to us, right? We're going to see each other, and they ended up doing that because they like almost adopted and like foster this stray cat. And basically it's about how they spend all that summer taking care of this cat. They even bring it into like an animal shelter, and funny enough, the lady in charge of the animal shelter even notes them as like almost like a couple, right? They're like, they are like in a relationship there. It's like it's the parrot too, funny enough. There's a parrot, and then she was like telling it to shut up. But it was like, yeah, the big thing there is like, so they have that, and then they take care of it. This was actually like, I would have been so livid if this happened, but there was one point where they made it seem like the cat ran away, and it was like that moment came, and I'm like, oh my god, don't do this. Luckily, spoilers alert, they end up finding it, right, and take care of it there. But the big thing in that is that, okay, because it happens again, but this time it ends up in the actual family that had the cat. Like the cat recalled the family, and the family saying, oh wait, is this like whatever her name was, right? I don't remember the name, because Takagi and Nishikata, they gave it the name of like the flower or whatnot, right? But they had a different name, and the cat responds. So it's like, oh wait, this is the cat that we had lost. And it's like, it's a miracle, he survived this long. We can take him back. And it was a big moment because they had spent the whole summer taking care of that cat, right? But then it's like, in Nishikata, he was gonna go like, talk to them, right? But then, Takagi, stopped him, because it's like the cat's, with its family again. They did what they could, and obviously they cared for the cat because they spent a whole summer, but, it's better for them to let the cat, be with its family rather than try to intrude on that for their own, like, selfish desires. And it's a big moment there, because like that was like, oh my god, like I was watching it and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that. And it was like, it was a big moment. Like it actually made me emotional. But the biggest thing in what this leads into is like kind of the finale, or sort of the culmination of that, where it's like they're walking home all somber and all sad, and then it's like the end of summer there. They did what they could, but then basically they like take a moment to stop, right? Because like they were removing the posters and shit, and they were kind of having a moment. And we know that, and honestly, like Takagi kind of almost had like a breakdown, right? Because she was like, like she was trying to convince herself that was for the better, but you'd really tell she was affected by it. And that's something to where it's like, then like Nishikagi, he kind of steps up and he's like, she was like saying, the cat, like, the cat's happy now, right? The family's happy now. It's good that, like, even though she's sad in this moment, like, it's good that that happened because it made him happy. And then Nishikata, he freaking comes in smooth and suave as fuck. He's like, Takagi, like, I'll like, even though this is happening, you're sad now, but I'll make you happy, right? Like, I can make you happy there. And it's like, it's kind of a moment where, like, she kind of, I guess, reciprocates there. It's not like an official, like, thing, right? But it's very much like an unofficial, like, they're finally, I guess, recognizing or acknowledging, kind of, again, even at the end of season 2 with the whole fireworks thing, right there. What would you call it? It's something there to where it's like, they're and kind of funny enough, they even do like there's like another fireworks festival at the end of the movie that they go to, right? As opposed to like the one at the end of season 2 where they like got lost and needed to like find each other again. This one they're with each other, and oh my god, freaking Nishikata's his friends are such bros. Like, they found like a hidden like path to go to watch the fireworks, and then his friends like leave him and Takagi alone. They're such bros, but it's like that's kind of like the culmination and end there, because they had like the fireflies thing where they were like, they did that whole thing like earlier on, and Shigata came just like, because he was like working there, and it ended up being like he was just like tagged along, right? And it was for his other friend, I think. But that was like the culminating thing where they had their like moment, right? And then they go see the fireworks again, but this time they're together, right? That's the big thing, is that it's a whole year later. So, and that it's the end of summer or whatnot, right? And that even though middle school is over, that's done, and they don't really know what the future holds in store. They know that they'll have each other, right? And that they'll be able to make each other happy there. And that's like, again, it's very much an unofficial thing, but it's also like they're also younger. So, but the bigger thing is it still has that emotional weight and feeling behind it. Like, again, just classic, Takagi-san. Like, I felt more for that than, like, let's say, Nagatoro-san. But obviously that's for reasons I've talked about in both. Doesn't mean Nagatoro-san wasn't good. I very much enjoyed it and thought it was still good. It's just, this is just kind of on another level. And the big thing here, let's get into the end credits scene, right? Because this was crazy. This, literally made up, like, stand out my seat. So at the end of the movie, there's an end credit scene, and at first it seems like, it's Takagi-san, right? Like, however, just a younger version, like, moving around. It's the same Fireflies thing, funny enough, right? Because when Takagi and, Kishi Yoshikata, what was his name? I forget, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm seriously blanking on his name, or Nishikata, right? When they went, there were like no fireflies. It's like, oh, it sucked, but at least we did it together, right? But the big thing is, when there's fireflies, right? It's said that like they're, the people there are going to be together, like, But when what's seemingly, a younger version of, Takagi is going, right? They break through the bush, right? And then they see, like a Everglade like full of fireflies, right? Because you think that's just a younger version of Takagi, right? Because again, it's like that's how they would have known from earlier in the movie, where it's like, okay, it's there were no fireflies that year, right? But they still got to spend the event together. But then out from the fucking shadows, right, steps. And at first I thought it was like, because here's the thing, I thought it was her parents at first, but then I was like, wait a second, don't tell me this is what it is. But then out from the shadows steps adult freaking Takagi and Nishikata, right? And it's literally like their adult selves, and then you put two and two together and realize that they're together, and then that's their kid, right? It's just like, oh, I'm so fucking glad they did that. Because like, even though, and this is, and from what I've heard, season 3 is more so about like actually their kid, and it like actually takes place in the future. But again, I don't know, I haven't watched it. But the big thing is that's like, after watching season 2 and then the first part of the movie, seeing them in the future be together is just so fucking satisfying. It's so glad. It's like, so glad they put that in, because it's something to where it's like, because obviously, it's middle school, right? So like, shit, like even high school, like college relationships, okay, they usually end up, if you like date throughout college and like through and past the end of college, okay, you're probably gonna end up together, right? Let's be real here. You know, high school, okay, very like, rocky there. It's like, if you like, I know someone who's okay, they're not married, but I know people who are engaged to their high school sweetheart. I know someone who married someone they met in college, so it's like, good for him, right? It's like, so if you're related, if you like date and like have a relationship in college, and it's, again, what would you call it? it ends up going past, okay, chances are you might stick together, right? High school is very much rocky, right? The middle school is like, shit, I don't think anyone's still there in middle school, you know. Something like I never fucking dated in middle school. Like I didn't have any relationships there. That was like middle school was such an awkward period of time. But the point there being like seeing them actually like stick together and be together in the future is just so fucking satisfying. Especially since it's like either you wouldn't expect that or it's just something where it's like just because of such the amount of time between them, what we see, and then them in the end credit scene being together. It's just so fucking nice. So glad. That literally made me like stand up out of my seat because I was like, hold on a second, is this what I think it is? And then they show them and it's like, they're so fucking good. So good. The movie was fucking perfect, right? It was like, it was the perfect in like, because here's the thing, right? Okay, I haven't watched season 1. Watching season 2 and kind of that seamless transition seemed to be the big thing there, right? The big focus or theme. The movie, the big, focus or theme was, the future and what it has in store, right? Again, it takes place at the end of their final year during that summer, right? And it's like, who knows what the future has in store? And that resonates, that hits hard, right? I'm a 22-year-old man, right? And I still think I'm a child, even though I'm a college grad. And it's like, that's just part of growing up, right? And it's like, the big thing is who knows what the future has in store? You just take it, one step at a time, right? Like I talked about my 8th grade birthday, I remember that shit like it was yesterday when I was in their fucking shoes, right? And it's like, well, shit, when was that? 2013, 2014? Like nearly a decade ago? And it's like, even after how many levels removed I'm, not just high school, but also college, it's like, yeah, I still remember then. It's real shit and it gets you, right? It's just, again, something to where it's like, the big thing there is that it's like, but then seeing them, actually, what would you call it, seeing them, have their moment right after, the cat, finds its original home and then they have their moment and basically, what would you call it? And then their resolve, to still, stick with each other and be with each other, right? And then also, again, seeing the end credit scene where we know that they follow through with that and they're together and they have a child is just so fucking good, so fucking good. It was easily worth it, right? I might even watch, if I can find better subbing, I'll watch it again. But because I literally looked it up on YouTube, subbing was trash. If I can find better subbing or dubbing, I'll watch it again. It's just so fucking good, so good. And then who knows what season 3 has in store again. I hear it's their child in the future because it's also something where it's like, I don't think it's for international audiences. I may be wrong. I was wrong about it only being 1 season because it's like, okay, I just missed watching the first fucking one. But I'm going to go back, rewatch season 1, or watch season 1, rewatch season 2, maybe even try to watch the movie again with better, subbing. But who knows there? We'll see what that comes down to. But again, just this probably like for the genre, I think Takagi-San's probably like, it's in its own other level and it pretty much in a whole nother tier of its own for like this type of genre. Don't get me wrong, Nagatoro-san still good, very much enjoy it. I think it's worth, even if they end up making multiple R seasons that aren't really as good as the first one. But Takagi-san is just really in its whole nother tier, in a whole level of its own for this type of genre. I guess the pseudo like slice of life, like normal, like I guess I don't want to say rom-com, but like that kind of slice of life. And I think it's really because this gonna sound really sus, but because they're in middle school, they take kind of like a step back, so it's not as focused on like the weird like pervy shit, more so just actually like two people, not even like lovey-dovey relationship because it's fucking middle school, but actually genuinely like caring about and then feeling for each other there. And it's done so fucking well. Funny enough, it's, even though like freaking Takagi has like a 5 head, it's just funny there, and it's just so good, so well done. I easily recommend this to anyone, and as like kind of an intro to the genre too, and just what the best of what it has to offer. But with that, as opposed to like Rent a Girlfriend, but that's also like I just never watched it because the title is like, okay, this like will like, okay, whatever. But with that, I don't really have anything else to say for this, and just that, I'll leave it off, and we'll see, I'll probably make a video after season 1, right? And then maybe after I rewatch season 2, but that's what the future has in store, similar to this movie, right? One step at a time. We'll see what happens at that point, but that, I don't really got anything else. So, yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.